Oh my gosh. So I am without my partner in crime today, Jesse Suggs. And so I would like to dedicate this episode to Blair Suggs, Jesse's little old lady pup who crossed the rainbow bridge today, which is why Jesse is not with us. And I was looking at this quote today, and it really touched me. And I think it's appropriate. Dogs are not our whole life, but they make our lives whole. So, cheers to Blair Suggs. You had an amazing life, sweet pup. All right, let's get into it. Okay, episode 13. Oh, I have such an exciting guest introducing the online sales specialist extraordinaire for Brohn Homes, Trista Nixon. Woohoo!
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, I've been looking forward to this. Trista, I think I met you back in 2021, right? 2021, when you
Yes.
you came from on-site sales land over into online sales land. And I knew that you were so special, not just because you had beautiful red, pink hair, I think maybe purple hair at the time. I was like, man, she's special. She stands out. But you just had that it factor.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I think it was like just a bolder red at the time. It was like a summer. So it was like my summer red.
So, Trista, we're going to get into, I've got lots of questions for you as an online sales specialist extraordinaire, but we have to do our, will you help me out since Jesse's not here? We got to do some
I'd love to.
housekeeping. Okay.
Yes.
So first of all, any awesome online sales specialist shout outs? I have one. Lee Williams of Bouchard Homes is Lasso's online sales specialist of the month. So kudos to you, Lee, if you're listening. Great job. It's always fun to be highlighted as Lasso does this. Trista Lasso does this like online salesperson of the month, and they interview you and they feature you on Facebook. And they've been doing this since, I happen to know this because I was actually the first one they featured as OSC of the month back in 2015, I think. So
That's
almost 10
awesome.
years. Almost
Wow.
10 years. We're going to have to get Heidi to fact check us on that, but I think it was 2015. Okay. Let's talk about what are online people talking about right now. So, Trista, I have heard in the last week, Jesse and I have had two different online sales specialists reach out to us. And they have said, like, hey, we're working. We had a lead come back in. The lead was already in our database from last year. And the lead came back in or it signed back up. Am I treating that as a new lead? And working it as a new lead. And this, Jesse and I kind of went back and forth about this a little bit. But the answer is no, not really. Like, so if it is a lead that's already in your database and it is coming back through, right? You're going to pick up where you left off with that. Right. And remember, our philosophy is one lead, one appointment, one sale. So if you have that lead that you have resuscitated or that is came back through, you can still try to resuscitate it and set another appointment for it. But as far as your conversion metrics, you're not going to count that as another appointment in your conversion. So that's where we got kind of screwed up. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. Because if you continue to count, some people visit multiple communities multiple times per year. So if you're counting
Mm-hmm.
that one person, just say 6 times, 2 times per year, that's six more people added to
Yeah.
your conversion rate that are dropping your numbers down. I
Yeah.
always in my spreadsheet put them in a different color. So I remember when I'm counting my numbers at the end of the month, I just
Yeah.
pull those out and don't count them again.
Yeah. That's a good practice, because you still want to track like that they had an appointment at another community, right? So you still want to keep track of that. And, some builders will give you credit like for, as far as compensation and things like that, if you're
Mhm.
scheduling multiple appointments. But we're just talking about folks like conversion of lead to appointment to sale. So you want to keep your conversions clean. The other thing around this that's kind of come up, Trista, is like, well, working as a team. My teammate actually, the lead that was already in there that was assigned to me, the teammate actually reset, they called back in and the teammate got the lead. Now the teammate is working it and trying to get who gets credit for that, yada, yada. And again, this can get a little bit sticky, but on Online People Talking, we talk about the hard stuff. So I'm just gonna tell you our philosophy is that lead ownership, as long as there's documented correspondence in the CRM that this was your lead, you were managing it, you have follow up in there, you have notes in there, they're on a process, like there's been engagement, something's been happening, then that lead stays with the original OSC that originally had it, right? And if you're doing your monthly prospecting, there should be a trail of engagement or attempted engagement, let's just say. So if you and your teammate are working and Jen Barkan comes back in, calls, and your teammate happens to get that lead, your teammate's going to work it, right? As your teammate, right? You're going to work it. You're going to help the customer because customer first, but the original OSC is still going to get credit for it. Because like if you're just covering for each other. So we could probably do a whole other Online People Talking about how team dynamics and how to work as a team. But again, that's our philosophy. What are your thoughts on that? Like as a team member, does that make sense to you, or am I being
Absolutely no.
controversial?
I mean, that probably is controversial. People are gonna riot when they see this video. But I think that for me, I think it's exactly what you said. Like sometimes when you are working with a partner, your partner is going to get the one lead that you may have been working for months, and then you're going to pay them back in the future. So to me, as long as you keep it in
Yeah.
that partnership mentality, like and keep the team in mind, I think that everybody can win here.
Yeah. So it all comes out in the wash. I can't tell
Absolutely.
you how many times, Trista, where I've gotten emails. It's like, hey, I did this work, but my teammate did this and it was my lead, but they're getting credit. And, I did all, and I go, it all comes out in the wash. When you're building a team dynamic, it starts with trust. You have to trust the other person. So it's like, if I'm out of the office and I'm on vacation, I trust that you're going to take care of me. If one of my leads comes in, you're going to take it from there. I can trust you that you're going to set the appointment. You're going to do what's best for the customer because I got your back when you're on vacation and when you're off and I'm covering for you. So it all comes out in the wash in the end.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Okay. Trista, let's get on to talking about you, superstar. So tell everybody that's listening a little bit. Yes, you're an online sales specialist, but where in the world are you? Like, give us a little background on who Trista is.
So yeah, I'm in Austin, Texas, and I'm working for Brohn Homes, as you said before. And a little bit about me: I'm a dog mom, obviously. I mean, everybody's a dog mom. I think it's like a prerequisite. Like if you're going to be down with OPT, you've got to be a dog mom
I hope I
or a
didn't.
dog
I hope I
parent.
didn't make you cry with my
You did a
my
little bit. I was like,
opening. Yeah, where our
oh,
hearts are with Jesse today for sure.
absolutely. I know. Oh man, if dogs could live as long as we do, that would just be somebody needs to
I know.
hurry up and invent that because I need that in my life. Some scientist somewhere needs to make dogs live A forever or B as long as we do because I cannot take
Yes.
it. Cannot take it. Oh man.
How
But
how
no, I
long have
love
you
my
been? Yeah, how long have you been in the role of online sales?
so I've been in online sales coming up on 3 years actually.
Right. So
So, I mean, I'm still
when I first met you in 2021, that was your first year in online sales.
my very first year. Yes.
Right.
I didn't even know what this is embarrassing. I didn't know what DYC was. When I
Hey,
interviewed,
that's
I
a
was like, I don't even know what DYC is, but okay, I'll go through the process. I'll do the motions. I didn't know, like, I didn't know how drastically my life was about to be altered forever in a good way, in a positive way.
okay, that's awesome. And you're pretty new to Brohn, right? Like
Yes.
you just started there not too long ago.
Yeah. Back in November, actually.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And so prior to online sales, you were an on-site sales agent, which I love because I feel like you're bringing that unique perspective to the role. So talk a little bit about how, working in online sale, I'm working in on-site sales, coming over to online land. Like how is that perspective shift for you?
I think that, I mean, first and foremost, like, it gave me a lot of insight really into how the appointment process is going to work, how, when people, go out to the neighborhoods, what that is going to look like. So that helps me kind of ease some anxiety when I'm talking with people on the phone. And I think from an perspective of talking with like the on-sites, I feel like it gives me a little bit more like the street cred, right? Like they know, okay, she was in the seat on site before, so she kind of knows like what we go through. Like, I know the
Mhm.
stresses, the headaches, the anxieties again that we have,
Yeah.
when we're, going through the building process or going through a contract process. So I do, I am able to kind of put that hat back on and think, okay, if they're writing a contract, okay, I need to do what I call appointment math, right? Like, okay, appointment math. Okay, it's like contract is like an hour. I got to give them a 30-minute buffer. Okay, so my next appointment can do, A, B,
Right.
C, D. So it's going through those motions, and knowing that I kind of know how they operate. And I think it really does help, me develop a really strong relationship with the team because they know that I've been there before. I've done what they're
Yeah.
doing. And it also gives me a really unique perspective, when I'm speaking to buyers because the questions are different, right? They're completely different. We're not trying to
Yeah.
sell them on the phone. We're
Yeah.
simply trying to set the appointment. That is our sale. That's our win. Like, we're winning when we set the appointment and everybody
Yeah.
wants to win, right? So it really gives me a perspective in knowing that it's like a full circle moment, right? Like, I know what I'm doing, I know what they're going to be experiencing when they go out, and then I know, and on the back end, I know what our company is going to be doing to take care of them when they actually go to closing and their walks and things like that. So it's really cool to have that perspective, honestly. And I do appreciate again the street cred, so the team knows that I've been where they are and I can, you know,
Now,
navigate that.
on the flip side, so okay, one thing that you're talking about and we think is so important, it's like having an understanding when you're in online sales, if you have never sat on site, if you have never been in a sales role on site, you don't really have an understanding of what they go through on a daily basis, dealing with customer backlog, meeting with people face to face. It's a completely different job than what you're doing online. And so we always recommend for our online sales specialists, if you've never done that, like you should go out and spend an afternoon on site observing, attend an appointment that you have set. Like for your salesperson, go out there, be a fly on the wall, see what's going on so you can experience this. On the flip side, Trista, you're coming into a situation at your current builder where nobody on your sales team has ever been an online sales specialist, right?
Right.
So they don't like what it's like to be on site, but they don't know what it's like to be online. So what do you think is the biggest misconception that maybe on sites have about what OSCs do?
I think, I mean, just generally out there, right? Not even one specific team, like,
Yeah.
just generally, I'd say that they think that it's like super easy, that we just sit around all day, I guess, eating snacks, and answering the phone, like living our best lives. We have
Yeah.
time for lunch breaks. We're lunching with the ladies, whatever.
Oh,
Like we have all the time in the world to just do all the things because we're just simply answering the phone,
mm,
and responding to online leads. I think that that's the misconception, is that the amount of work that goes into every single lead that comes through the
yeah.
virtual door, the phone door, the amount of work, I think, is a misconception because,
Yeah.
you know, even if you say it, right? Like, even if you say it hundreds of times, even if my sales manager says, okay, this is the process hundreds of times, maybe not hundreds, but at least a dozen, like the team is
Yeah.
still not grasping, like, what all goes into every single appointment that is set, all
Mhm.
the follow up.
But how do you, okay, that's a misconception. And listen, we hear that all the time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, like I had no idea, like all the stuff that you do. I thought you just answered the phone and set appointments for me occasionally. I mean, that's literally what
Right.
my sales team thought when I was in OSC too. Like, so we're
Yeah.
talking, this has been a common, perception for years. But so how do we change that? How do we
Mhm.
change that around? I think you said training. So talk a little bit about like, what are we doing to train our teams so they
Yeah.
understand?
So I actually did. So my company actually does something really cool. They call it Brohn. And
Oh,
other companies probably should take note on this because it is
yeah.
incredible. Every month we have a training that you can hop on virtually, or you can go actually physically in the office to. And it's like on different things. So they go over like warranty, contract.
Okay.
They did one on online sales. So basically, everybody in the company knows what you do, what each department
Yeah.
does. And it's just like a rotating door of like training. And so everybody attends. It's so incredible. I've never seen anything like it, where everybody is just so excited to attend these trainings. And it's not just for the free food, like they are engaged. Like I was
They're like,
talking to
give me some
people.
donuts and
Give me,
tacos and I'll be
yeah,
there.
and it's not even that. Like we had tacos and they were good, and it wasn't
somehow
even
I
about the
knew,
free food.
somehow I knew there was tacos involved. I
In
mean,
Austin, we're all about tacos.
yeah,
Like we have
give
tacos for every meal.
tacos, tacos, and we'll be there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and yeah, but it wasn't even for the free tacos, surprisingly enough. But like people are engaged. Like I was actually talking to people in land about what I do. They were asking really engaging questions and they wanted to know the answer. So Brohn is amazing. It's all about training and just keeping everybody up to date. So we had that. We also have our, of course, ongoing trainings with DYC. And what Jen did, Jen, what you did. I'm talking
Yes.
about you in the
Yes.
third person, like you're not
Yes.
here.
Yes. Pretend I'm not here.
Pretend you're not here. What you did is you came in and you did a training for the team on what the role looks like, what the step-by-step
Yeah.
process is. You went through the sales process, you showed the sales funnel. So
Hmm.
I mean, literally you went through and did, I mean, everything, right? Like you went through the whole process. And I can tell you, we've said it dozens of times, but the team, until this moment, I think
Hmm.
it was really a light bulb moment for a lot of people
Yeah.
because they didn't realize everything that was going into
Hmm.
every single appointment that is being set.
Yeah.
So, and every single lead that's coming through the door, not just the appointment set, but every single lead coming through, right? So I think that was a really big light bulb moment for a lot of
Yeah.
the team. And I think that it's just so important to have those ongoing trainings.
Yeah. It does hit differently when like somebody else is saying it versus like the online sales specialist. So like you could
Absolutely.
stand up there and be like, "Hey, this is what I'm doing. This
Right.
is my process," which is important that you do. But then having like reinforcement, if it's not a Jen, it's a leader in the company, like somebody
Mhm.
that like has some impact to go, "Hey, this is what is happening at the top of the funnel. This is what's happening at the middle of the funnel. Like what's going, this is everything that it takes to get even an engagement sometimes. And then the process of getting the appointment and why it's such a big deal. And I think too, like I saw your team, first of all, your team was awesome. Like
Oh, thank you.
they were a fun group, but I definitely saw light bulbs going off that I could tell like on the Zoom boxes when you kind of break it down, like how many actual eyeballs and visitors are coming to your website, like thousands upon thousands a month, and actually only like less than 1% of those are actually becoming a lead. So like even just understanding that concept of like, it's a really big deal when you get a lead.
Right.
And then like sometimes you have to engage with them up to 9 times to even get a response in some cases. Oh, and then you're dealing with objections or uncertainty and having to build that trust to get them to move forward. There's a lot, like you're saying, Trista, that goes into it other than just, yeah, I set appointments for you occasionally.
Right. And
Yeah.
I think one other thing about building trust with the team, we talked about building trust like within your OSC team, but I did want to take it back and just say, you mentioned on something about that I actually do is just go on site. I think it's so important. So I do weekly community visits. So I go out
Okay.
once a week and I rotate where I go. So we have a big team. And so I usually like try to film while I'm out there. Like they hate it. They hate it. They absolutely loathe it. It's up there like with like ice picks in the eye kind of situation. They don't like it. But you know, I just encourage them. And I remember what Mike said, which is your face is your face. And you say it all the time too. Your face is your
Yeah.
face and you
Get
can't
over
change
it.
it. Yeah, get over it. Don't look at yourself. Like, here's the camera.
Yeah.
Make sure you're looking at the camera. I always show them where the camera is.
I know.
And we make a video and they're like, and I'm like, it was great. I loved it. As long as you put your personality into the video,
Yeah.
you know, and make it yourself, like that's
Yeah.
important. But that's for of course, for the people that are coming in the virtual door, we'll send them the video. But the relationships with the team, like I think it's just so important. So they go out there and they also see you work. I bring my laptop. Like I don't leave my laptop at home. I carry it everywhere basically so that I have it at all times.
Mm-hmm.
I don't leave the house on the weekends because I want to make sure that I'm getting all my leads. But you know, the point is that when I go out there, I bring my laptop. I show them what I do, and they're like, "Wow, you're really working a lot." Like they're really usually amazed. But it gives them insight, and they also see me as a person too, because I'm like, "Whew, the phones today have just been blowing up. I'm just so
Right.
exhausted." You know, they see me as a real
Well,
person.
something important that you're saying, I just want to stress here is that it's especially if you work remote and you're not around your salespeople a lot, like you've got to put yourself into their world. You can't just sit back and go, well, I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing. Why aren't they doing their part? You know,
Right.
why aren't they getting back to me? Why aren't they communicating with me? Well, you know what? Stop going, why aren't they doing, and start going, what am I doing? So you've
Yes.
got to be proactive. You've got to put yourself out there into their world in order to build a connection with them for sure. Okay. Question. This is a tough one.
Okay.
We're going to get vulnerable. We're going to get naked. All right.
I'm ready.
Have you ever, in this role, have you ever been doubted, like, or felt less than? And how did you handle that?
I mean, absolutely. When I first started at this company, you know, they hadn't had OSC for like over a year. And I don't think that they had the most faith in the person that was in the seat before me. And
Okay.
so I kind of walked into a spider web of a mess. Like it's absolutely like you're like
Yeah.
picking through, like trying to figure out like how to move forward, how to go through the spider web, right? Like it is kind of a mess. And I mean, truly, like, so, you know, when I started doing my community visits, you know, people would be like, "Oh, we're so excited to have you. We're so glad you're here." But it's like, then like the word through the grapevine would be like, "Oh, we're not sure if we need an
Yeah.
OSC. We could just be answering those phones ourselves." Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm the best person to work the lead, right? So I really have had to prove myself and show, like, again, like, I have to be vulnerable with the team. Like, hey guys, in the meetings, I stand up and say, like, hey, if I've made a mistake, tell me. You know, if I've
Mm-hmm.
said something that's not quite right about your neighborhood, you let me know so that I can fix my verbiage, right? And like our promotions are ridiculous. Like we have amazing promotions. So like when I first started, I couldn't grasp like that you could do all of the things. I was like, you can get one or the other. And then somebody actually corrected me and said, no, Trista, it's not one or the other. It's everything. And I'm like, no, wait, hold on, back it up. Like what? Like all of these things. I'm not kidding. Like, it took me so long to grasp that. And I called myself out about that, because then I was able to say to the team, like, hey, Brooke was able to correct me on this when I was wrong. Like, please tell me if I'm saying something that's not quite right. If I'm sending a buyer out that is absolutely not right for your neighborhood multiple times in a row,
Yeah.
let me know. I think it goes back to just calling yourself out, holding yourself accountable, right?
Mhm.
And being vulnerable in a way that lets you grow. Because once I did that, like, it's like a lot of walls came down. People were like, oh, she is a real human. She is here to help us. She is here to, make the company better. Right. So I think it's really just about not proving, because you can't change you can't
Well,
force somebody to think
but
something, but you have to prove
but
yourself.
but okay, so I agree with everything that you're saying. But I also think that the proof is in the pudding. And in
Yes.
February, I think you guys had the highest sales month in a few
I think,
years.
yes, yes. If
So
not ever. Yeah. We had 99 sales. Yeah.
99 sales in a month. And, with a point, I think your lead to appointment conversion is like 45%, 47% or
Yeah. I
something
think it's 47. Yeah.
amazing. And so sales are a result of appointments. And so, yes, like, if you are an online sales specialist that is like being doubted or, questioned or whatever, the proof is in the pudding, and continue to show results. Don't be afraid to talk about results. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable and open and say, like, hey, here's my goal. This is what I'm working on to get there. And, don't hide behind the numbers. Like, be open, be talking about it. And like, especially when you're coming into a new situation, be
Hmm.
humble, which I
Yes.
think is what you did. It sounds like, hey, I'm here as your teammate, and I want to speak your lingo, and I want to learn from you and like what you're saying, how you're talking about it. And then the proof is in the pudding. So like you have built your street cred. You've earned your
Yeah.
stripes.
It took me a while, but I think I'm finally there, and one of my teammates the other day, he said, I just I don't know what we would have done with all these. How would we have gotten all these sales if you weren't here? It's like,
Oh,
I mean, I don't know.
oh,
I know, it made me feel
oh,
so good. I was like, I've
oh.
arrived. This is my moment. I was like shy. I was
It's
like
like, can
beaming.
can you put that in writing and let me put it,
I've
put it
got
in
a plaque.
lights. I'm gonna put it in light. Yeah. You need to put that in bright lights in your office. That's awesome. Um, okay. Last question is, if you could go back in time to your brand new online sales self. So go back in time to 2021, just starting out, all the things. I mean, think about, the market was ridiculous in 2021, and just last year was a totally different, harder type of year. And what advice would you give yourself?
Oh gosh. I think, for me, don't be so stressed about everything. Like, I was so stressed because I was learning so many things, and it's
Mhm.
like, even our, like, the CRM, we use Salesforce. So like, even the
Yeah.
CRM, that we used, and the process was completely different from anything I'd ever learned. Like, I didn't know what OSC no response meant. I didn't, like, I feel like I could have asked a little bit more questions, because I wasn't quite grasping
Oh,
the
okay.
processes, right? So just ask more
Okay.
questions about, if you don't know something, don't be afraid to ask the question. Because I was like, I don't want to seem like a complete and total idiot. So I'll just pretend like I know what is going on here. I didn't know. It took me a while before everything finally clicked in place. I think it was like, I don't know, 6 months before my brain even comprehended how everything worked and
That's
how
normal.
everything,
Yeah.
like, clicked into place. Like, what does no response mean? Like, what does that do to our long-term follow-up?
Yeah.
Um, just, don't be so stressed about, like, CRM, like, whatever your CRM is. Like, don't think, oh, I have to do like, I was searching for YouTube trainings to try to make sure that I knew how to do Salesforce perfectly, but like, the thing is, like, there is zillions of YouTube trainings and YouTube videos, and like hundreds of hours of trainings because it's so detailed. Every CRM is so detailed and can do so many things. So don't stress about those nuances. Like it will come. Like just work the processes. Do the, when I tell people, do the training, like watch the videos,
If you're brand new, it's
Yes.
like ask questions. I think that's a good
Yes.
one. Like, I always tell people too, like as they're new, I say that same thing. It's going to take you 6 months to even make sense of it all. So give yourself a break. And I think ask questions. And I think even as you progress in this career, don't ever stop asking questions. Be
Absolutely.
curious, like be curious, ask questions, find a mentor. That's so important that you continue to do that. Trista,
And
you are, oh, sorry, go ahead. Say
I just
what you're
wanted
going to
to
say.
add one other thing, like always be willing to learn because I feel like
Yeah.
you don't know everything. And even if you think you know everything, like this industry changes
Yeah.
on the daily, right? So it's like we
Mm-hmm.
always can be learning like new things. So I think that
Yeah.
that's so important. And I do try
Yeah.
to really adapt that mentality. Like at the last summit, like it was like, put on your, what did Mike say? He was like, put on your learner's cap or beginner's
Yeah.
hat, like always be a
Put on
beginner.
your
Yeah.
beginner's mindset, basically.
Beginner's
Like,
mindset. I
yeah,
really
put on your,
did. And I got so
mhm.
much out of that summit because I just let myself be a beginner.
Yeah. So what Trista isn't telling you all, which was so awesome, is that our sales and marketing summit, our online sales and marketing summit that we have every year, she was on one of our panels, and our superstar panel that we talk about. And so she did such a phenomenal job. Trista, you are a fierce to be reckoned with. You're just awesome. You are a light, and spending time with us today, you're making an impact in the industry. So we appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, it's time now for our skills check because Trista, you know what I always say, you got to check yourself before you wreck yourself. So
Yes.
skills check this time is, we started talking about lead, how we're counting our leads and really looking at that. So it's important. One of the primary jobs as an online sales specialist is to quantify your leads, feed this information back up to marketing, back up to leadership. And so when you're looking at your leads, make sure you're going back to your report and you're counting 1 to 1 to 1. How many leads, new leads you got for the month? How many appointments you set? How many showed up? And how many of those appointments went to sale? And if you have B-backs, meaning multiple appointments for that one customer, or, prospecting, like you've resuscitated leads that maybe you had already been out to the community and they've come back around to you and you've resuscitated them and then you've set them back again, make sure you're keeping track of that separately. So like Trista was saying, she color codes, like these are B-backs or these are people who have had multiple appointments. Make sure that you're having a line item for that on your report and you are not lumping all of that stuff together because you want to track it separately. So 1 to 1 to 1. Trista, any additional thoughts on that, on a skills check?
Yes. Just make sure to double check yourself too that you're notating it in your CRM because you're not always going to have your spreadsheet open. Well, I mean, you do. You have your spreadsheet open. I do. But you want to make sure you're notating that be back appointment in your CRM so that when you're getting another call, you're like, oh, Susie Q is a be back 27 times. Like, okay, we got to make sure we're not counting Susie Q and your partner is not counting Susie Q 27 times as well. Because you want your conversion rates to be a true snapshot of what you're doing in the seat too.
Yeah. CRM should be called CYA, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Listen, I'm all about our CRM. Like the team is like, oh, and I'm always like, guys,
hey,
like,
on the next
this is your best
episode
tool.
of Online People Talking, we will discuss how to get our salespeople to use the CRM. But until then,
is that
Trista,
really what it's going to be?
No, I don't know. I just made that up. I don't know.
That would be great.
I mean,
love it.
listen, that is a, again, we talked about the like long, misconception of like, what do online salespeople really do? same thing, long, like standing challenge is we hear it all the time, getting salespeople to use the CRM. I have some thoughts on that. You'll have to tune in on to the next episode to learn more about that. Trista, last question.
Okay.
Are you down with OPT?
Yeah, you know me.
Woohoo! All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, it was awesome.